There are a ton of guns in Phantom Forces, just about 200 of them to be specific. And with so many guns and so many choices and so many attachments and conversions, you kind of get lost in it, and you just kind of end up using the same generic stuff that you use in most games. A lot of people like AKs, and they're in basically every FPS game out there. Or even like an M4, for instance. Everyone's got one of these equipped in basically every single game that they play. But people don't really talk about the super underrated stuff. People don't talk about the random underdogs that exist in this game. And it's for that reason alone that we're going to be going over today what I deem to be some of the more underrated weapons that exist in Phantom Forces. If you guys end up enjoying the video, consider subscribing with notifications on so you never miss a video or live stream. And also, if you agree with my list, consider dropping a like. It helps out the video a ton. But with that said, let's get into the video. So the first weapon that we're going to cover in this video, which was given to me by the person who gave me this video suggestion in the first place, is going to be the X95 SMG. The Colt SMG is both a weapon that I rarely ever use myself, and in tandem, a weapon that I rarely see anyone use in public lobbies. And before you shout at me, Mr. X95 SMG main, yes, I know there are people who do use it, but you just don't see it as much as you do some of the other more generic kind of loadouts in this game. And it's actually kind of unfortunate because this is a very nice weapon. So first of all, just aesthetically, I think it's a very cool model, but also the fact that it's got a fairly high fire rate, a good magazine capacity for an SMG, and also some pretty good damage boasting guaranteed 3-shot torso, which everyone loves, or 3-shot kill in general, I should say, out to 45 studs. Really, it's actually closer to about 55, to be honest. And while sadly having no torso multiplier, it's still a 6-shot at range, which is pretty standard for SMGs. The recoil, though, at least until they eventually soak this up in the whole layered recoil system, is pretty good. And while in a lot of cases, you're probably not going to be cross-mapping people with it like crazy, it may not be the best thing in the game, but it's definitely not the worst thing in the game, and it's just a lot of fun. I will say one of the things that probably turns people away from this as well is probably the slightly higher unlock rank of 115, so it's definitely a little bit up there. Overall, I will say that I like this weapon, but also it does have another trick up its sleeve, that being having a 5.56x30 conversion, and this kind of fiddles with your damage quite a bit, basically giving you better range damage at the cost of better, or worse close-up damage, really. By the way, I forgot to mention, this list is kind of in no particular order, just random stuff that I thought of. If we scale up the X95 SMG to the X95R, unlocked at rank 130, so going up a little bit here, we actually get quite a substantial increase in fire rate from, what was the fire rate again? It was like, yeah, 800. And that increases up to 950 with the X95R. Unfortunately, we do lose a little bit of ammo, having a capacity of just 30, which is pretty standard for a weapon like this, I guess, in the carbine category. We get a 1.1 torso multiplier and a 1.5 head multiplier, so a little bit better than average for the carbines. However, we do get also pretty low up-close damage. This is something that I don't typically use either, but this is something that I just like never see at all. Like sometimes I see X95 SMGs. This I just never really see, like ever. And there might be okay reason for that. One of the main reasons being the recoil, which if you don't use kind of like a very particular setup is pretty rough. And even with its like ideal loadout, the recoil is still not amazing for it. So it's like, even though it has better range performance than the X95 SMG, the recoil is pretty harsh. You can still get kills with it though. You can still absolutely get kills with it, much like you can with literally any other weapon in the game. But yeah, I just never see this one. I think it's relatively good. It is a pretty high level unlock as well, and the damage and stuff really just kind of isn't there. However, the high fire rate and the really unique model for it as well, much like the X95 SMG, it just kind of makes it a lot of fun for me. However, we do get two different conversions with this, being the 5.56x45, which gives you guaranteed 4-shot at maximum range, but a much lower fire rate of just 800, and also a little bit higher like close-up damage. We also have 300 blackout as well, which gives us the most close-up damage. Yeah, it's it's a little bit scuffed, but you could build some fun stuff with this for sure. Completely on the other end of the spectrum, but still in the carbine category, is going to be the Jury. It is essentially a 5-shot revolver carbine, which has some of the best damage in the game for like what this kind of is. Are we just okay, we're just gonna stare at each other, I guess then. That's it. That works. Okay, well, gameplay aside, this has some crazy good stats. So first of all, you can just see the base damage, maximum of 80, minimum of 50, which means we're getting at least a guaranteed 2-shot maximum range. But we also, with the torso multiplier of this, we get a guaranteed 1-tap torso out to 35 studs, not amazing, but still something. And we get a guaranteed 1-tap headshot all the way out to a nice, lovely, about 169 studs. Very cool. So while it does only boast a 300 fire rate and only a 5-round cylinder, we can 2-tap max range torso, which is nice. Not even torso, just 2-tap in general at long range. And we can get some nasty closer out damage with this. It's extremely underrated, and I think because of its kind of higher rank at rank 114, and also the fact that it's a 5-shot revolver carbine, not really everyone's ideal kind of weapon in this game. Kind of makes it to where people just don't really use it or know about it all that well. But man, is this 1000% worth using. There's also a ton of really cool conversions for this, including like a bunch of different shotgun conversions and exotic slugs, which is essentially a double bullet slug thing. But yeah, overall, this is just a super unique weapon with a ton of unique conversions for it, and I think it is definitely worth using. Another thing very much worth using is going to be the BWC9A, which is a weapon that you just rarely ever see these days. Are you serious? I died, spawned in front of that man again, and then died to him again? Bro, what are these spawns? Anyways, this is a weapon that you just kind of never see, and there's a couple of good reasons as to why. First of all, it is an extremely high level unlock, being unlocked at rank 149, so already it's unobtainable for probably most average players, unless you pre-buy it with credits or you get a good deal in the player shop. Second is going to be the fact that this weapon since launch has been changed like 4 or 5 times, like the entire way that the weapon works with the recoil and with the damage and with the fire rate. So I think a lot of people who've been playing for any longer than like a year have seen this thing go through every form of change and have just gotten sick of like everything that this weapon has become, because it just never seems to be consistent. Even though it's in like kind of maybe its best state at the moment in terms of like a great balance of recoil and damage, people just don't really want to use something that could be completely changed a week later. And I think just all of that together just makes it into something that a lot of people just don't use. Now, if we actually take a look at this weapon, we have by default just a 21 round magazine, which is not amazing. You can get an extended or reduced magazine for this, but by default 20 rounds is it'll work. We have 36 damage, which gives us a guaranteed 3-tap kill out to a nice whopping about 61 studs, and 21 minimum damage, giving us the chance to 5-shot maximum range, which with this thing's extremely low recoil actually works super well. And with a kind of more average fire rate of 725, that itself is not amazing, but I think it balances itself out super well, just with everything else about this weapon kind of coming into play. Otherwise, yeah, it's a great SMG. I think if you've got this unlocked, it's a good thing to be able to try, as well as it might even be a decent pre-buy for a lot of people who like SMGs, but might not want something that fires like, you know, 1500 RPM or whatever, has crazy wild recoil. This performs a little bit more like a carbine, just in a really cool little boxy, kind of boxy package. Yeah. And lastly, something that I have much slept on over the years, being the ASMI. This is a weapon that is actually kind of newer to Phantom Forces, but the ASMI is something that I've kind of always hated, because whenever they first added it, it was genuinely horrendous. This was a very bad weapon. And especially for being a machine pistol unlocked at rank 97, nearly rank 100, where you unlock a lot of other cool stuff, it just seemed to be fairly useless. However, it did end up suffering, or benefiting rather, from one of Stylus's famous rebalances that completely changes the way that the weapon works. And definitely it was for the better. So first of all, we get a maximum of 32 damage and a minimum of 19. Not super out of the ordinary, but what makes this thing crazy is the multipliers, boasting a 1.25 torso multiplier and 1.8 headshot multiplier, giving us nearly 24 torso damage at maximum range, as well as at least a 3-shot headshot max range. However, we also get a 2-tap headshot out to 70 studs and a 3-tap torso kill out to 75 studs, with a 33-round magazine and just a mid-fire rate of 600. It's actually insanely good. This is the kind of thing that like you could legitimately just throw a scope on and you would just never regret it. Heck, if you wanted, you could throw a ballistics tracker on this. Is it practical? No. But you're maining a machine pistol. Like, being practical is not on your list of things to do that day. It's just overall great, crazy damage output. It's just overall a lot of fun, and I really genuinely love this thing. I've actually dropped some like 60 and 70 kill games with it too, and while it's extremely ugly, it's very good. But let me know what you guys think of this in the comment section below. Do you guys agree with my list? Do you believe that these weapons are also as underrated as I believe they are? Do you have other weapons that you believe are super underrated? Let me know all these things in the comment section below. As well, below you'll find a link to become a channel member in the description and in the pinned comment. And you can help support the channel personally, just like all these amazing people up on screen right now. So huge shout out to them. And if you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing and leaving a like. It does help out a ton. And if you want to see more videos just like this, you can do so with the playlist up on screen right now, with over 500 Phantom Forces videos in them. With that said, I hope that you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching. And I'll see you later, I guess. Peace, dudes.